NHD Board of Directors and other directors of the NHD Board, Mr. Martin Miller, Managing Director of the NHD, as well as other members of the management and staff of the NHD, Reverend Dr. Stephen Samuels, Senior Pastor of the Waltham Park New Testament Church of God, representatives of our stakeholders and partners on this project, all our specially invited guests to include community leaders and other representatives, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant morning to you all. I won't hackle you this morning for not saying good morning in return, I promise. I won't. My name is Dwayne Berwick, and I'll be your Master of Ceremonies for this occasion to break ground for the Howard Apartments here in St. Andrew. A quick read on groundbreaking ceremonies would reveal that they serve as an opportunity to mark the start of construction of a property and for thanking those who made it possible. They are also an occasion to generate interest in a new project or building and to showcase how a company is working, growing, and meeting its mission. I'm confident that today's ceremony will meet all those objectives and then some. And on that matter of objectives, let's begin this morning on a note of thanksgiving. And I now invite Reverend Dr. Stephen Samuels, Senior Pastor of the Welcome Park New Testament Church of God, to lead us in this moment of invocation and to pronounce a blessing on today's ceremony and upon this project.
Thank you very much, Master of Ceremony, and I greet you all. I want to, as part of the invocation, read for you Psalm 127, verse 1. Very interesting passage on an occasion like this that says, "Except the Lord builds a house, they labor in vain that builds it. Except the Lord watcheth over the city, the watchman waketh, but in vain." Let us pause for prayer. Could you stand with me? Let us pray. Eternal God and Lord of all, we pause at this very significant moment, not only of the start of this great ceremony, but also the start of a major project. We pause to give you thanks, to honor you for the opportunity that we have today of creating a construction, a housing project in this community. Lord, we give God thanks for all the stakeholders that are involved. We thank you for the government of Jamaica. We thank you for the National Housing Trust that has come together to ensure that this project become a very successful project. And so, Lord, we now ask for your blessing over this ceremony, that it will flow smoothly, that it will be a time of rejoicing and celebration for a project that is well needed, well deserved in this community. We also go beyond the ceremony, God, to ask for your blessing upon the construction phase, upon the distribution phase, and upon the occupation phase of this project. May your name be glorified in everything that we do from start to end. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Samuels. The chairman of the NHD has a task of overseeing a housing program that creates opportunities like these, where we turn the soil to mark the beginning of a project that will change not just the landscape of this community, but the lives as well of our future beneficiaries. The chairman of the NHD is Mr. Lennox Channel, and at this time, I'll ask that you give him a round of applause as he comes to welcome you to today's ceremony and also to make a few remarks.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Dwayne. Thank you to the Haile Selassie High for entertaining us while we've been waiting. Thank you. Prime Minister, the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, Member of Parliament, St. Andrew Southwestern, Dr. Angela Brown-Burke, His Excellency Dao Jiang Chen, Ambassador of People's Republic of China in Jamaica, political representatives and other state officials, the NHS and staff, community stakeholders. And options for Jamaica. Today, we are planting the seed of change for many Jamaican families. Today, when completed, these housing solutions will not just satisfy a family's need for shelter, it will be an opportunity to permanently change the trajectory of their lives. As chairman of the NHT, it has truly been an honor to have led the NHT team in fulfilling our promise to build communities that individuals are proud to call home. As a Jamaican, I'm elated that another group of my fellow hardworking and well-deserving countrymen will soon be able to turn their own keys. Beyond this activity of tilling and sodding the soil, our policies and initiatives at the NHD continue to be groundbreaking, allowing our contributors to break into the ranks of mortgagors. Our mortgage financing options, led by our low interest rates, continue to shift the market toward improved accessibility and affordability. As an example of these favorable mortgage financing options, the future residents of the Howard Apartments can look forward to benefiting from facilities like our deferred and intergenerational mortgages, parent assist, 100% financing for scheme solutions, as well as our home grants. These deliberate policy positions and facilities continue to bridge the affordability gap for our contributors that need it the most. Over the next 2 years, the NHD will be developing 248 studio apartments here at the Howard. The development will be outfitted with green spaces and recreational areas to make life more comfortable and enjoyable for our contributors and their families. These studio apartments will add to the further 1,500 solutions slated for completion over the next 2 years as part of our housing delivery program for Kingston and St. Andrew. The business of constructing within our nation's capital, Kingston, and by extension, St. Andrew, is truly a delicate balance of creativity, innovation, and functionality, while trying to meet the needs and affordability levels of our diverse contributor base. The high commercial and residential density means that there are far more factors to consider, particularly in relation to the impact on the environment. It therefore requires a deliberate approach in where and how we build to ensure that we meet our standard of safe, modern, functional, and most importantly, sustainable communities. With that being said, I would like to also recognize and commend Donald Moore, our Senior General Manager, Construction and Development, and his team, who skillfully manage the communication, construction, and processes for all our developments across the island. And he will be working closely with Centauri Real Estate Company Limited, our development partners on this project under our Guaranteed Purchase Program to deliver these apartments. And might I stress, on time. This level of innovation and creativity requires collaboration at every level. At the NHT, partnership remains a core pillar of our business processes. It is truly a thread that holds the fabric of who we are as a nation together and remains a critical component for a thriving housing industry. Collaborative initiatives such as the GPP and our new developers program continue to support the NHT's thrust of engendering an affordable housing program. The GPP specifically has allowed for the harnessing of financial and other resources within the private and public sector to facilitate the completion of housing developments. The program has created more opportunities to bridge the gap between supply and demand for affordable housing. With that being said, I would like to thank the Centauri Real Estate Company Limited for partnering with us on this project. And I would also like to take this opportunity to thank all our GPP developers and small and medium contractors who have come forward and partnered with us, and to encourage those who have not yet partnered with us to come on board as we build our nation, one project, one community at a time. Finally, as we look out to this land before us, it presents more than just a space where we will build homes, but rather a canvas to build opportunities that will positively shape our nation's future. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you again, and please do enjoy the rest of the day's proceedings. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Channel. And the NHT is indeed an institution that has partnership as one of the key pillars of not just our genesis, but today remains a critical feature of our brand identity. And as our chairman referenced our partnerships under the Guaranteed Purchase Program, we are indeed pleased to have found partners with Centauri Real Estate Company Limited. Their managing director is Mr. Julian Zhao, and I invite him at this time to make a few remarks. Thanks for making him welcome as well.
The Most Honorable Andrew Holness, Prime Minister of Jamaica, Your Excellency Chen Daojiang, Ambassador of People's Republic of China in Jamaica, Dr. Angela Brown-Burke, Member of the Parliament, industry partners, friends, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Thank you for being here. It's your participation in this ceremony make our development a unique one. I want to pay tribute to the Most Honorable Prime Minister. We admire your noble aims and unremitting efforts in providing inexpensive housing solutions to Jamaican people. It's our great honor that Centauri Real Estate Company can join your efforts. And I believe by working with the National Housing Trust, we will achieve something incredible in the future. And I want to thank you, Dr. Angela Brown-Burke. You have been supporting this development and constantly giving us your advice and guidance from day one. Without your support, the progress cannot be so smooth. And I also want to use this opportunity to thank you, Your Excellency Chen Daojiang, the Ambassador of China, for your constant support in business cooperation between Jamaica and China. This development is a collaboration between Centauri Real Estate Company and the National Housing Trust. And it is also one of the latest examples of the collaboration between Jamaica and China in the housing industry. And we as a developer will, in collaboration with NHT, and work together with our general contractor, Sino-Hydro Corporation Limited, which is a Chinese-based international construction and engineering service provider, in the next approximately 18 months to complete some 248 units before delivering them to the NHT. Ladies and gentlemen, in the past years, Centauri Real Estate has been dedicated in providing high-quality housing solutions to Jamaican market. But it's our first time working with the Jamaican government. We feel excited, but nervous. We are excited because we are finally be able to join the government efforts to do something more meaningful to the Jamaican society. And we also feel nervous because we understand the job we are doing is very demanding. We need to manage carefully on our budget to keep in consistency of the principle of affordability. But on the other hand, we also need to make sure of the quality. The quality here means not only the quality of construction works, but also the quality of life. Upon completion, along with the delivery of the 248 apartment units, we will also deliver a well-built residential complex with amenities including guardhouse, clubhouse, resting gazebo, playground, jogging trail, dry yard, rooftop terrace with lunch and exercising facilities. We understand these kind of amenities will be a little costly and will inevitably squeeze the margin of profit, which is usually very low for affordable housing solutions like this. But we will not compromise because we believe we are building a home for those who deserve the opportunity to get these amenities. Because every working Jamaican who wants to purchase a home deserves this. Ladies and gentlemen, in the past decade, Jamaica witnessed very rapid growth in housing demand. However, the supply of inexpensive housing solutions are insufficient. Part of the reason is the margin of profit is a little low. I still remember several years ago when I told a meeting with NEPA that we are responsible market players, not only driven by the profit, and therefore will never stop our efforts in providing housing solutions to those who earn less. And today, we are proud to say that we are keeping our promise. And we are sure that in collaboration with NHT, the Centauri real estate company will definitely be able to present more and more affordable housing solutions to lower and medium income home purchases in the very close future. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you very much, Mr. Julian Zhao. And we hear the passion in your voice as you deliver your remarks, and we look forward to that passion as we partner together over the next 18 months. And let me reassure you, no need to be nervous. You're in good hands with the National Housing Trust. The Howard Apartments, they fall within the constituency of St. Andrew Southwest. And this MP is special to not have the NHT not once, but twice in her constituency in the space of a few months. I'm speaking about no other than Dr. Angela Brown-Burke, who represents the area in Parliament. And it's therefore only fitting that we hear from Dr. Brown-Burke today on the importance of this housing development to her constituency. So at this time, I'll invite her. Ladies and gentlemen, please make her welcome.
Thank you very much, Mr. Master of Ceremony, Mr. Berbick. I want to really big up the team from the Haile Selassie High School with that wonderful piece that they gave us, entertaining us earlier. You know, I'm always very proud, quite frankly, to be anywhere that they're playing, because sometimes we really don't recognize the talent that lies in our school and give tribute to the teachers and the others who really have been working with them. So it is actually the only high school in Southwest St. Andrew, but we are very, very proud of them. And I saw Principal Ellis somewhere around the back with a big smile on his face as well, and we are pleased for that. The Most Honorable Prime Minister Andrew Holness, the Managing Director, of the NHT. I was telling him earlier that I've been on several sets and I had not seen him. I was beginning to wonder, But he assured me that he's here today to make sure that we know that there was nothing behind that, just his unavailability. His Excellency Dao Chang Chen, something like that, Ambassador of China to Jamaica, Mr. Julian Zhou, from the Centauri Real Estate Company Limited, other members of the NHT who are here, other members of the construction team that is here. We have been having several meetings and discussion. Members of the community who are here, some of them standing up over there. I came over and I spoke to NHT and I said, listen man, my people say it looked like you don't have no space for them. And they said, no, tell them come over. But they're listening. I am always very pleased to be at any activity where we are dealing with additional houses and homes in Southwest St. Andrew. This is actually the fourth scheme, if you want to call it that, housing development, that I have been at since I have become Member of Parliament for Southwest St. Andrew. And I know that the Prime Minister, wondering how it is that fate has so blessed me. I'm a faithful and therefore a blessed child. Yes? And therefore, I am here today welcoming all of you to this groundbreaking ceremony. There are several traditions we have in Jamaica about groundbreaking, not true? This is one of them. And there are some others of which I will not speak today. But I am sure that there will be other opportunities for others to do those other activities. As I came today, I really kind of stopped and thought a little bit to the constituents, the residents who are outside. And I wanted, in bringing greetings, to share my own thoughts, but also to share their thoughts with you as well. So my own thoughts is that I'm always excited at housing developments that are more than just concrete structures, that are aimed at building a community of residents. And so I am excited to hear about the rooftop, the terrace, and the exercise, and the green spaces, and all of that. Very excited about that, because I really do believe that every community needs those kind of communal spaces that help individuals to come together and build that spirit of community. And too few of our communities don't have those spaces. So when we do these and it's there, I really want to pay tribute to those who have designed it in the way that they have. And I know that NHT is all about not just the building, but also making sure that at the end of the day, they are converted into homes. Yeah, and that's very important. 248 studio, which people say studio, one bedroom. That's how we call it, No matter how you build it as studio, one bedroom units. The persons that are standing out there, many of them, by the way, very interested, because many of them are already NHT contributors. Many of them are hard-working people who, we are Jamaicans. We have some dreams. One is education, and one is owning a home. That's how we grow up as Jamaicans. And I've said to tell you, SAPM, and the others, NHT, that when you come to areas like these, there are people in here who are ready, yes, to purchase. But let me tell you a little thing about many Jamaican families. There are very few families that when the child gets a little work, not a little work, a big work, get a big work, and start to earn a decent living, that they go and they buy a one-bedroom or a studio. And that as life progresses, that when they get a wife or a husband, they can stay there, right? Because it's still okay. And then as the children come, they sell that and they go and they buy a bigger house. But many of them looking for a little opportunity. Yes? And so when they buy this, they really like the ones where they can expand a little bit and do a little thing with. And they even prefer those now where the family can come, because it has taken them years. Talk about intergenerational mortgages. But for intergenerational mortgages, you also have to make sure that it's an intergenerational house. Not true? Because some of the kids who are adult children who are in these homes also have parents that they'd love to be able to be there, or they're going to have children that they'd love to be there. So we are grateful for these 248 studios. Don't get it wrong. But since we're talking to policymakers and drivers and shakers, we have to also make sure that we describe the reality so that as we go forward, we will also see some of those houses that they can buy, knowing, that next year, the next 5-10 years, them good right here same way. Some of them said to me, so MP, is it that this is a set of apartment buildings that were designed for another set of Jamaicans that is not those of us living right down here? So, because what we're going to do with the one bedroom? I'm encouraging them, Prime Minister, to make the investment. And I say two of my councillors here, Councillor Carl Blake and my councillor in waiting, because that's who he is, Councillor in waiting Jackson. And I've given them, and some leaders are here, I've given them a task. The task is to go out in the community and find some people who qualify and who are interested in applying for these apartments. Because I know that there are some people elsewhere who don't want to come live right here. And PM, I want to make sure I satisfy the demand here before we go outside. Now, so I go. Yes? And I know that you're with me. But ladies and gentlemen, it's a hot morning, and you have been very, very cooperative. So I just want to welcome you to Southwest St. Andrew, a peace-loving community. And you are in one of the best parts of the constituency. We have several like this, by the way. Don't get fooled by some other things you see about some other little places, because we are a diverse group. Welcome. I hope you are going to enjoy. And I hope that when you come back 18 months, 2 years down the road, you are also going to be very pleased at the community that you see thriving here. Blessings.
Thank you very much, Dr. Brown-Burke. Our keynote speaker this morning is the Portfolio Minister with responsibility for the NHT. And I think it's a little bit more than fair, but rather accurate to say he has made housing a priority, whether it's through the NHT or through the National Social Housing Program. He's also been championing for private sector investment in affordable housing, and I think he's particularly pleased this morning to see this public-private partnership. Ladies and gentlemen, the Most Honorable Andrew Holness is our keynote speaker for this afternoon, and we now invite Prime Minister Holness to deliver the main address. Please make him welcome.
Thank you, Dwayne. Let me acknowledge His Excellency Chen Daozhang, Ambassador of China to Jamaica. Let me quickly say that this is not an event for foreign affairs, but the ambassador is so elated to see a company from China participating in the development of housing in Jamaica, and we should note that this is a private sector company. So we are happy to have you, Ambassador, and happy for the moral support that you have come to give this company. Let me acknowledge the work of the chairman, the managing director, the deputy managing director, the members of the board, and the executive and administrative staff of the NHT who are here. The last time I was at the platform, I was wondering if I would still have the executive staff of the NHT. So I'm happy to see, as you noticed, I'm happy to see both the managing director and the deputy managing director here. I had to do some work behind the scenes to reassure. But just as an aside, you know, public service is oftentimes a thankless endeavor. And you can get accused of various things from all quarters of the society. So I believe that if you step into the realm of public service, you have to have very thick skin and be able to withstand criticism. In other words, to be a public officer, to be a public servant, you have to be resilient. And I believe that the staff, the executive, and the board of the NHT has demonstrated great resilience. And I thank you for that. And I'm very, 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 very proud to be your minister. And I commend you for the work that you have done. Let me acknowledge your hard-working Member of Parliament, Dr. Angela Brown-Burke. Supported by her entourage of councillors and constituency executive members. And I see the residents, I did take note when I was driving in, looking on, not just with curiosity, but with interest that maybe they too can become owners of units here. Let me thank my good friend, Dr. Stevenson Samuels, for the invocation. Very good to see you. And also, let me acknowledge Councillor Samuels, who is representing the Mayor of Kingston and St. Andrews. Mr. Chairman, I visited Singapore maybe 5 years ago. And I was taken in Singapore of our NHT, the organization that you lead. And in Singapore, they have a very comprehensive system of housing development. They are literally planning housing construction for generations of Singaporeans to come. So they have a well-controlled, well-established housing market. Now they have to do this because Singapore is the size of St. James, the parish of St. James. Approximately, well, more than 5 million people live on that island. Now Jamaica has, well, the census is about to be completed, so we'll see how many Jamaicans we have residing. But let's say we have 3 million people, those who we know about include those who we don't know about. So let's say we have 3 million people. But nevertheless, grow up and seek their home. But that's not just the totality of the problem. We are not able to provide a home for every household that is now currently seeking a home. So we have a deficit in the current housing demand, and we have a deficit in future housing demand. We need to get to the point where our housing market, supported by the NHT, the Ministry of Housing, and the HAJ, the Housing Agency of Jamaica, can adequately plan and provide a housing solution for every existing household and housing solutions for households to come. How do we get to that? How do we get to that point? And why do we need to do this? Well, let's try to answer the question, why do we need to have a robust and well-controlled housing market? Shelter is a human right. Every Jamaican should have access to a decent form of shelter. And if the real estate market is not providing homes, houses that people can purchase, legally acquire, then people are going to find their own means of getting a roof over their heads, right? We see that right across Jamaica. It is the basis and the genesis of unplanned communities. It is the basis and the genesis of illegal and irregular settlement of land. It is deeply ingrained in our culture, for some of us, that if you see a piece of land and nobody seems to be taking charge of it, or even if somebody is in charge of it, the overriding need for my housing drives me to go and settle that piece of land, build a structure on it. Now, can you imagine if that were the case in a country like Singapore, that is the size of St. James, hosting 5 million people? Would they be able to orderly house all 5 million people in that very small space? No. So there has to be order. Property rights have to be established. But at the same time, the government has to build out the housing, or the private sector, or a partnership, so that everyone who lives on the island has a fair chance of acquiring somewhere to live and to call home. We believe in Jamaica that we have an infinite amount of land, that we can settle it in any way we choose, not recognizing that for every unplanned community, for every settlement that just springs up for which we have no knowledge of, it locks in and limits future development. So what is the government doing about that? The first thing that the government has to do is to put in place proper structures to give access to land and housing. And we have such structures in place. They don't always work as efficiently as we like, but we are improving the efficiency of it. One critical structure in our housing market is the NHT. And we have tasked the NHT to support the drive of building 70,000 housing solutions. Now, I want you to just absorb that figure for a while. 70,000 houses will not be sufficient for the government to get ahead of the demand that exists. But 70,000 houses is what we know we can finance for the next 5 or 6 years. The NHD is responsible for 43,000 of those houses. And these will be right across Jamaica. As I'm standing here in this community, as your member of parliament described this as a peaceful community, law-abiding community, but she alluded to certain perceptions of the area. But you notice we are here. We are right here off Spanish Town Road. So we are going right across Jamaica in all communities. So that's one important strategy of the government. The second important strategy is that if we were to allow housing development only to be done by the private sector on private sector terms, then the segment of the market that would be satisfied would be those who could pay the highest price. Now, when do we have very high prices in a market? When demand exceeds the supply. And what is the situation in Jamaica? The demand for houses considerably exceeds the supply of houses. Hence the strategy of trying to bring these 70,000 houses to market. Now, how do you close that gap? It's one thing to say everybody must get land and everybody must get house, but it's another thing to actually do it. We have a supply problem in housing. And the real supply issue is that, one, we don't have enough readily available developable land. That's challenge number one. And I have taken some bold steps to get lands into housing. It has not been without its unfair share of criticisms. But we have taken positive steps in that regard to bring land into the housing market. The other shortage factor is that we do not have enough local housing contractors, developers, that can take on housing development at what I like to describe enterprise scale. We need more housing developers who can take on housing estates of in excess of 5,000 units per development. We don't have many of those in Jamaica. There are some other issues as well, but those are the two key ones that we have to address. So we are very happy to see Centauri Real Estate Development Company coming on board with us. Now, 248 units which will be built on this property is not a large development. But I took note carefully of what you said, sir, that you are happy, but you are also nervous. You are happy to be a part of the development, but in any new arrangement, in any partnership between government and the private sector, there are always fears. There are uncertainties. And there are so many uncertainties that could happen. Government policies could change on you overnight. There are political risks. There are social risks, not to mention all kinds of market risks involved. But one thing you can be certain of is that the way in which this government has operated, we have minimized the political risk, and we have minimized the fiscal risk, and we have minimized the policy risk for the private sector investors to come and participate in these programs, which have a very high social, positive social externality for the people who will benefit. So you don't have to worry. I give you the assurance that as long as you deliver these houses on time and on budget, you have nothing to worry about. In fact, I would say to you, and I'm saying it on behalf of Chairman Chana and Managing Director Miller, that once you finish this project and you can find lands elsewhere, Angela, I hope you can find some more lands in Southwest, the NHT would be willing to go on to your next project. And that's what we want. So we have been steadily increasing capacity and changing the nature of how the NHT works, so that now you can see me every month or so either handing over some keys or breaking ground for NHT projects. It's a steady process, it's a long and tedious process, but it is delivering results. Now, having started to tackle the supply issues, and we are now increasing the turnout of housing into the market, there now comes the vexed issue of affordability. So there is significant demand in the market, but we have to figure out now what is the effective demand, meaning do people have the actual resources now, the income to buy the houses? So we have made one more policy prescription on the NHT. Previously, the NHT would fund projects as they are presented. So if the project makes economic sense, it's profitable, and it's bringing a good number of houses, the NHT will fund it. Since the last 2 years, the policy directive has been that the NHT must focus on what we call the affordable income segment of the market. So we are redirecting the resources of the NHT to focus on persons, to focus on houses that are in the price range of persons who are at the median income in Jamaica. That is the affordable income segment, meaning for persons who are low income earners or middle to lower income earners, more lower middle income earners. So that is the range of houses that we are trying to bring into the market. The project that we are breaking ground for today fits neatly into that category of income earners. So you were wondering aloud, MP Brownberg, whether or not persons in this area would be able to purchase one of the units. The answer is, if their preference is for a studio type, apartment type housing solution, and they are earning minimum wage or just above minimum wage, they should be able to access financing through the NHT or through the private banking system or from their own resources to afford one of these 248 units that will be built here. I was hoping that I would hear a clap of relief. Yes, so I'm expecting, and though we cannot give preference because the point system is open and transparent, but I'm expecting that members of the community here would be able to acquire one of the units being constructed here. This is being done under a program called the Guaranteed Purchase Program. This was established in 2017, 2018, thereabout. And what it does is to remove the market risk from the developer, meaning that the developer will contract with the NHD at a fixed price for all of these houses when they are finished. The NHD will purchase them. So the developer does not have to worry about whether or not, when the construction is completed, that people will come and buy these units from them. They are all purchased up front. So the developer, in order to maximize his returns, will not be able to maximize the returns on the appreciation in price or the depreciation in price. It could very well be the case. The developer must maximize his profit on the efficiency and speed of construction. And I'm hoping, well, as you have said, you will be doing this on time and on budget. Now, we are hoping that more developers will come on stream with the Guaranteed Purchase Program. We want more developers to join in, more Jamaican developers to come in. Because I know developers are skeptical of the program because it locks off the ability to gain on the appreciation after the units are built. But that is not going to help the people who want the units. So we want our developers to come in and maximize on the efficiency on construction so that the people of the country can get the units at the affordable prices. Now, the price for this development per unit has not yet been established. And I don't want to quote what I think might be the price when it is sold in 2024, which is the expected completion date. But it will be in the affordable price range. I wish to point out that this will not only be a housing development with apartments. There are significant amenities which will be built in. I'm happy to see that there will be a play area for children. You will have various gazebos spread around the property. There will be an exercise area. You will have a rooftop garden. You will have adequate green space to create a jogging trail or a walking trail around the property. These are things that add greater value to the development. And I wish to point out that these are studio apartments. But as you say, Angela, people call it one-bedroom studio, because eventually they are going to make some modification to create a bedroom. But it is a studio apartment. The cost of the development is 2.4 billion Jamaican dollars. And the majority of that cost, of course, will be to the developer. Now, we expect that the development here will be completed in October 2024. And I will be breaking ground here, Angela. Well, I will be handing over the keys at that time. Yes, you notice that I'm speaking with great certainty. Yes, before or after a particular event. We have 2,878 units that are under the GPP program. A couple of weeks ago, I turned over some units at the Roseneath development in St. Catherine, and I will be going through turning over units under the GPP program as they are ready. Now, the NHT has a plan for 1,505 units in Kingston and St. Andrew. I have done some already. I believe I did it in your constituency again. And we have 28 units at Metcalf Street, which will be ready this year. We have Foreshore Estate, 230 units that will be ready next year. We have Maxfield Park, 210 units that will be ready next year. We have the White Wing Community Renewal, 131 units again. Angela Brown-Burke, your Member of Parliament for that area. That will be in 2024, 131 units. There is what is known as Rasta City in West Kingston, 155 units. Hopefully we will break ground for it. We were hoping it would be this year, but it looks like early next year, Martin. And that should finish in 2024. Of course, we are breaking ground here now at Howard Apartments, and that's 248 units. We have the Bell Rock Community, 18 units. St. Paul's Lane Community, I am the Member of Parliament for that area, 24 units, and we should break ground for that this year. We have the Surbiton Apartments, that's an NHT scheme, and that will be 70 units. We have Penwood, which will be a joint venture for 38 units. That should be in 2024. Then there's the Bay Farm Road Community Renewal of 72 units. That should be in 2024. We have the Ruthven Road Phase 2, 235 units, and that should be completed for 2025. And we have a scheme in Vineyard Town for 14 units, and that should begin in 2022, this year. So we have a significant number of houses planned for the corporate area. Still not enough, but you can project that the NHT will have some solutions that are all affordable solutions. You can note that we have not highlighted any housing development whose price would be in excess of 12 million Jamaican dollars. Let me put it in that light so that everybody can understand that the housing developments that we have just announced, the 1,500, will all be in the affordable housing range. So, ladies and gentlemen, it was my pleasure to address you, and indeed my even greater pleasure to break ground for this housing development. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister Holness. Thanks for what I would like to call first your economics of housing lesson on that whole issue of demand versus supply and the need for more houses, and not just more houses, but more developers who can build at a particular scale and at a particular price point as well. Thank you as well for your assurance to Julian, and also your assurance that despite the frustrations that we sometimes hear from our fellow countrymen, that we are indeed, as players in the housing market, working, and not just working, but we are also achieving results as we continue to chip away at that demand that has built up one groundbreaking, one handing over at a time. And it's now time for the groundbreaking exercise, the actual tilling of the soil, to mark the start of the construction for the Howard Apartments, and I'll ask our ushers to assist in robing our groundbreaking party, which will include Prime Minister Holness, Member of Parliament Dr. Brownberg, Ambassador Chen, Chairman Chana, and our Managing Directors Mr. Miller and Mr. Zhao. And the groundbreaking exercise itself will take place to my right. I'll ask you, ladies and gentlemen, that you remain seated and as best as possible observe the exercise from under the tent. And with the actual groundbreaking completed, that will be the end of our ceremony this morning. It was my pleasure to have been your guide. I want to say a big thank you to Edge Marketing, our event planners, to PRS for our sound, to Ambicare. Hopefully we never had to use you. The construction and development team, the marketing and sales team, our Usher Corps, Mrs. Ann Vidal and her project execution team, our branch manager, Mrs. Bernard, and our AGM, Mrs. Newsom and her team, and all the NHD staff, those in procurement, and in all the other areas that work to make today possible. Until we meet again,